Hey rich friends, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys how I manage my money. Essentially, I'm exposing for the first time on this channel how I keep track of my finances. So everything from my income, my expenses, my investment, my loans, I'm going to be sharing all that with you today. This method that I'm showing you in this video is not the best way to do it, and I don't know, to be honest, if there is a best way, but this is the way that I have managed my money now for many years. I started keeping track of my finances around 2016, so almost a decade now, and I've used this method, this template, or a version of it over years, and it has really worked for me, and I thought I'll share with you. If you find it helpful, I have a template in the description box below that you can download and start using immediately, or the video can just be inspiration for whatever system that you currently use. If you are new here, my name is OBA. I am a former investment banker. I am a chartered financial analyst, and on this channel I like to make videos around personal finance and personal development, and the goal of my channel is to help you build a life that you love and you have no reasons, no need to escape from. If that sounds like something that you like, then definitely subscribe to the channel and give this video a thumbs up. Firstly, my financial management system is very simple. I use Google Sheets for all my financial management. I use it to track everything. And then I use apps. So I use like my banking app, I use my savings and investment app. I have an app that I use to track my loans from my loan company, and I have like Apple Wallet that I use to track, my credit card. Every single thing is concentrated in Google Sheets. Second thing I want to share as well before going into the template is how often I manage my expenses. I keep track of my finances every week. Yes, every single week. Most weeks I try to be diligent. I take my time to track my expenses, to look at how much I have in my savings account, to look at how much I have in my credit card, if I have anything like that. It doesn't take so much time. Once you get started with it, it takes like 10-15 minutes on Sunday morning for me to just look through my financial life and see where I am and how I am doing. But that's what has worked for me. I have realized that this way, this method of doing it, it helps me stay on top of my money. It makes me feel comfortable. When I'm out in the world, I know that, okay, I have money, I'm not broke, stuff like that. And then during the week, when I have to buy stuff or I have to make any purchase, right? Because I have a backdrop of how much I have, what my goals are, stuff like that, it helps to guide my steps, something like that, during the week. Now, let's get into the template. As you can see here, there are 4 sheets. You have financial position, project, budget, and expenses. And I'm going to take you guys through each of those sheets and walk you through my thinking, how I go about recording stuff here. So firstly, with the financial position sheet is very similar to a balance sheet. If you have ever read a company's financial statement, maybe you are in finance or you are in accounting, you know what a balance sheet is, but you may not have never thought about having your own personal balance sheet, but this is something that I really like, and I started doing this during the pandemic when I was trying to save up towards a goal. The main thing in this financial position is the net worth. This tells me what I'm worth at every point in time. So I want to know, am I a millionaire? How much money do I have when I take away my liabilities from my assets? So your net worth is essentially assets minus liability. And I feel this at the end of every month to see what my financial position is at the end of that month, and to see how it has changed from month to month. And when you start doing this, it's going to look really silly because, except you are very rich, your financial position or your net worth may not move a lot from month to month. But when you've been doing it for years, you begin to see the difference. As I said, I started recording my personal finance since 2016. So I have almost 10 years of data that I can go back and see, I was worth X amount of money 3 years ago. Now I'm worth X amount of money right now. And it really helps to keep you motivated, to keep you working towards your financial goal. Starting from assets, my savings is basically money from your savings account, any investment account that you have. What I typically do is I'll pull up my savings and investment app, and I'll just look at what my account balance that month is. And this is important because when you are saving and you're investing, there typically is an interest rate. So ideally every month there should be growth in your savings and investment from interest that you have gotten. So let's say that this month my savings and investment balance is $2,500. Now moving on to cash and checking account. So this is basically money that I have that I have not saved or have not invested. So this could be money just lying around in my account. It could be cash that I have just around the house, and I try to keep this as little as possible. I try to keep my checking account to just money that I need to spend that month. So let's say that I have $2,000 in my checking account. Now retirement savings, this is like the balance of any retirement account that I have. So you might have a 401k, you might have like a regular Roth IRA or investment savings account, and let's say that I have another 2k here. So you can see that my assets right now is just $6,500. So I added a line here for other assets. So let's say that you have a house, you have a car, you have, I don't know, gold, you have any other assets that is different from saving investment. You can add the value here. Now, if you're using this template, you can make it into anything that you like. So if you want, you can add a line for your house, you can add a line for your car, you can add a line for any other assets that you have. Let's say I have a house, and let's say like my other asset is around 1,000, for example. You'll see here that immediately my asset has risen to 306,000 USD. Now, moving on to liabilities. I went to school in the US, so I have student loans. And again, your student loan as well, the reason why it's important for you to track this every month is because your student loan balance changes every month. It either increases due to like the interest rate being applied every month, or it also decreases as you pay your student loan. Your balance decreases if you are paying more than your minimum payment. So let's say that my student loan balance is, I don't know, $20,000. I wish. And then credit cards. I personally like to clear out my credit card balance at the end of every month. But if for some reason, you have a balance, it's always good for you to be aware of it. So let's say that I have $500 on my credit card. And then other loans. So other loans can include if you have a car loan, if you have a mortgage. Let's say that I have, other loans of about, I don't know, 50K. You can see that this immediately computes. I have assets of 306,000. I have liabilities of $70,000. And that means that as of today in June, my net worth is $236,000. Now, just disclaimer, this is for illustrative purposes only. This is not my true net worth. I'm making up these numbers, okay? What this does for you is you know what you're worth. At any point in time, you know your net worth. I don't know if you've ever heard that saying that says, know your worth and add tax.
And sis, that's on period.
Now, I'm going to say something here that depending on the stage of life that you are in, you may have great assets, but let's say you have student loans of 200K. Like many people that went to Ivy League schools, or you may have like massive car loans or whatever. Like, don't let this thing get you down. I just do it so that I am aware. And before I move on from this page, I think what makes this page very important, and this is something that I shared in the video around lessons I learned about money, is you are not what you earn, you are what you keep. So you could be in a job where your total compensation package at the end of every year is, let's say, 200K. That does not mean that you are worth 200,000. Like, this is a very important lesson, and I think that is a mistake many people make. People assume that you are worth what you earn. No, you may earn 500K a year. It doesn't mean that is what you earn. It doesn't mean that is what you are worth. Your net worth is the difference between your assets and your liabilities. So what that means is that if you earn $200,000 a year, but you do not have any assets, you don't have anything invested, you don't have anything in your retirement account, you don't have a physical asset, you are not worth 200K. That money can come through your hands and it can pass. It can come and go through your hands if you are not conscious in building assets and reducing your liability. So starting with this gives me a good view of what I'm worth and what my position is at the end of every month. So the next sheet is goals. I'm big on setting goals. If you look at my channel, I have many videos about like setting goals, and I have a video that I made recently about personal finance goals that you need to have. Having goals is very important, especially in your financial life. Now, what this sheet does for me is it helps me plan. On this sheet is where I record my short-term financial goals, and this sheet gives me like a clear view of what I want to use money for in the short term, how much money I need to achieve my goals, and when I want to spend the money. So for example, we're in June, but I know that this year I want to travel internationally. When I'm thinking about this, I could be like, okay, when do I want to travel internationally? I could be like, oh, September, how much do I think it will cost? Let's say I want to spend $5,000 traveling. Another example is I have some membership fees that I want to pay. They renew every year. So I compare that, oh, membership fees. My membership fees are around like $500. I can be like, oh, okay, $500, it expires. I want to buy a new video editing software for my YouTube channel. I could put here video editing software, I don't know, $300. What this does for me is that it gives me a bird's eye view of everything that I want to do with money, and you can put as many goals here as possible. And this sheet feeds very nicely into my budget sheet. So my budget sheet, I have 4 sections. The first one is my income. The next one is my budget for each month. And then I have actual expenses, and then I have percentages. So starting from income, so let's say that I make $3,000 every month, or let me get a raise. 5K, that's my salary every month. Other income could include like refunds, it could include gifts that you receive from people, it could include anything. If you have side hustles, if you have other sources of income, basically include all of them here. So let's say that I got my tax refund this month of June, and let's say I got $500 in tax refund. As you can see here, this is my total income. So it's very important at the beginning of every month to know what I'm working with. And because my job is pretty stable, you can very easily almost forecast, what your salary is going to be like for the next few months. And that really helps you plan. It helps me know that, okay, every month I have at least $5,000. Cool. Moving on to my budget. So my budget categories are pretty similar to what is normal. Let's say that groceries, I want to spend $200, transport $50, rent, I don't know, $2K, house stuff. So house stuff here for me basically means things I need around the house. So this could be like, I don't know, tissue, toiletry, cleaning supplies, fragrances, home fragrances. I like to, and I know some people put that under groceries, but I actually like to buy my house stuff on Amazon. And when I do groceries, I mostly buy things that I can eat, consumables and perishable. So house stuff, let's just say $50 every month. Subscription, the usual, Netflix, Apple Music, Apple Storage, every other thing. Let's say I have $50 here. Medical, so if you have like a recurring medical bill, maybe therapy that you go every week, or maybe, I don't know, you're paying a medical bill in installments, you could have that, let's say $50. Shopping and self-care, I'm just a girl, okay? A girl has to shop. So I need to make my hair, I need to do my nails, I need to buy makeup, stuff like that. Let's say I spend $200 a month. Debt payment, so this goes back to like the net worth page where you have like your student loans, your credit card, all these things. So let's say that every month I pay around, I don't know, $500 in debt payment. Savings, obviously you have to save. Let's say I save another $500. Giving, I'm a Christian, I believe in tithing, which is typically 10% of my income. So that would be $500 in this case. But let's say that this month of June, I have friends who are having their birthdays and I want to buy stuff for them, or I want to donate, or I want to give gifts to my family or my friends. I could have, let's say, $700, for example. Now, this project, I'm going to change it to goals. So this goals line here actually comes from the goals page. So what happens is that when I put in like my goals here, this total comes into my budget. So it's already fixed. So first of all, we already see here that, for example, in September, I have a goal to travel internationally in September, and I have a salary of 5K. So what this is already telling me in June is that if I truly want to be able to take my international trip, I need to increase my savings, essentially. I need to save more money, in the months before September, so that when September comes along, I have enough money to meet this goal. And this is why this is so powerful, because it enables you plan and think into the future. Okay, so I typically do not edit this field because it comes from here. If I have something I want to do in June, I don't know, let's say summer, let's say I plan to spend $200 this month, that immediately comes here. And then miscellaneous, so this is just random money, random things that pop up. I like to just keep my miscellaneous very small at about 50. Now what you can see here is that my total budget expenses, my total budget is 4,550, and I have a balance of 950. So this balance is the difference between my total income and my total budgeted expenses. So I have an excess. There are different ways to make a budget. I personally, in my personal life, like to do what is called a zero-based budget. So the goal for me every month when I'm making my budget is for this budget balance to be zero. Every single dollar of mine has a place that is going. So this 950, if at the end of the month I realize that I have a positive budget balance, I just put whatever that difference is into my savings. So what that means is I will increase my savings now to this amount, and immediately my budget balance is zero. So good, right? Fine, neutral. And if truly I'm able to save this 1,450, if I save that money June, July, August, then definitely I'll be able to meet my goal to travel internationally. Okay, but this is how I do my budget. Essentially, I tend to keep my main expenses flat, and I can tweak things as I go. So I may be okay, this month, I don't want to do any shopping. I could do that. I could be oh, I'm not saving any money. I could do that. I could adjust something else. But the point is, I keep my main expenses flat and I tweak it on a month-to-month basis. But focusing on June, as you can see, my work here is done. My budget balance is currently zero. The next bucket or area on this sheet is my actual expenses. And these values are actually pulling from the expenses sheet. So let me walk you through this expenses sheet. I record my expenses on a daily basis. And this is why I do it every week. So every week on Sunday, I take out time to go through my banking app and I record my expenses by myself. So I'll be oh, I went to the grocery store, I bought something of $70, I will record it. I took an Uber, $15. I paid my rent, $2K. I bought shower gel on Amazon, $20. I paid my subscription, $30. I just put I recorded based on what is happening on my account. So every week I look through my bank, I look through my expenses, and I plug that into here as it fits. And what you can see here immediately is this sums everything up. All my expenses are immediately summed up here. And then this total goes into my actual expenses. So at the end of every month, I'll come here and I'll look at my actual expenses and I'll see that, oh, I was supposed to spend $200 on groceries, but I actually spent $290. I was supposed to spend $50 on transport. I spent more. I spent less on home stuff than I budgeted. I spent less on medical. Okay, well. So I basically compare my budget to my actual. And here you have the total, what's the difference between what my budget was and what my actual expense is. And if you did this right, if there's a positive, so if there's a surplus here, what you should have is you should have that money in your checking account, and then you should take that money and put it in your savings, ideally. For me, I don't know about you, but for me, most times I have a deficit where I spent more than I budgeted. So this is how I keep track of my expenses. By tracking my expenses, I have a better view of what my budget should be. So most times, if you track your expenses for 3 months, you have an average. You know that, okay, averagely I spend $300, because I feel like many people set budgets that are not realistic, and so every month they set budget and then they don't meet their budget and they're like, oh, why am I doing this? You know, and they feel like budgeting is useless. The reason is because your budget is not tailored to you. It's not specific to your actual life. So at the bottom here I have percentages. I can see here that I spent 7% of my income on food. I spent 46% of my income on rent and utilities. I spent 15% on giving. What this does is, sometimes when you're looking at the numbers, they don't really mean much, in the sense that like you can't really react to them. But when you're looking at your percentages, you can be like, oh, I'm spending about half of my income. You see, I'm spending almost 50% of my income on rent, electricity, and phone. That should send off alarms in your head, like, oh my God, that is too much. And you should begin to think about, how do I reduce this? Do I find a cheaper phone plan? Do I find a cheaper electricity? Or do I move out of my building and get a roommate or move to a cheaper building? You can immediately begin to see that, oh, I only saved 11% of my income. You know, is that good? Is that bad? You can immediately begin to see that. You can say that, oh, I gave out 15% of my income. Wow, is that what I intended? How do I feel about that? So this percentage is kind of, it helps me to have a good sense check, you know, of my finances and have an accurate reaction on, is this how I want to be spending my money? Do I want to be consuming 7% of my income in food, you know, every month? And again, this is looking really light because this is an example. But when you do this over a year or over 6 months, you will be very, very shocked on what you see about yourself. I remember when I first started doing this, at the end of every year, in the last week of the year, I would do like I'm being extra now, but I would do like a financial statement for myself. And I'll be like, oh, this year I spent 20% of my income on food. And, you know, that would bring up reactions in me like, oh, you know, or like, oh, this year I saved 50% of my income. And it's like, okay, great. Or, you know, managing your money is a very important step for you if you are planning to build wealth. But the most critical thing you need to do if you want to become rich and build wealth is you need to set and achieve your financial goals. Setting financial goals can be very confusing. It can be very difficult to figure out what is, you know, a good goal to set, what is too much money to have saved, what is too much money to spend on a house, things like that. And that's why I made a video about the key financial goals that you must absolutely try to achieve in your 30s. If you've not seen that video, I'll link it up here for you to go and watch. Thank you for watching my video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.